Very interestingly, while our leaders whom we elect to our precious vote, when they come in power, those are the same leaders who form the government, and in their eyes, the citizens don't exist. As if we are not, as if we don't matter in the scheme of things. Today, the democracy is that of, by, and for the netas. And shamelessly, after 5 years, they come back to you asking for your votes. And the cycle begins the same thing. They get elected. Civil society is not willing to give a call to them in terms of the methods that they follow. And then the same story continues. Interestingly, this particular survey that was called for actually between January 23rd to January 26th on the issue of reservation for Marathas, and they wanted to know exactly the profile of the Marathas in the cities. The Mumbai was entrusted to the Mumbai Municipal Corporation, Thane Municipal Corporation, Mira Bhinder, and Navi Mumbai, to ascertain, according to the news that were released, that too after a little bit of outcry, to say that they were doing this survey to find out exactly composition and what numbers were there of Marathas. Now, very interestingly, after some time, it was realized that various mechanisms were used when we started getting feedback. That nobody knew the methodologies that were followed and the opaqueness. Interestingly, it was entrusted for the EMC here in Mumbai. And I must say, in all seriousness, that the EMC who can't even manage the affairs of the BMC on pollution, garbage, and other things were entrusted with doing the survey. It was not their core expertise. Having said that, we started getting various feelers and feedbacks, which were scary. If you recall, this type of profiling was done way back in 1992-93 as a prelude to the riots. And if you recall, after the profiling was done, particularly the minorities and more particularly the Muslim establishments were attacked, Muslims were attacked, where their homes were, their businesses were burned down very selectively during the 1990-93 riots. So our query to the government is, if you follow the constitution, and that's our right as citizens, then you must basically come open in terms of what is the purpose of this survey? Whom have you entrusted with? We really don't know, because at some places it was app-based. For instance, in Thane, one of the dentists, somebody came with an app-based thing, and I just asked her one thing. Are you a Christian? Yes. An educated person. When did you convert? Now that lady is just 35 years old. See, my whole life and 2 generations have lived here. So what are you? And people get scared. Because when they feel that the government has sent you for information and you are not able to react. And she panicked in terms of this question being asked. Another society in Mahim, which has 56 residents, very interestingly, only 2 Christian families. The enumerator, along escorted by the secretary, goes to that house number. And the straight question is same question. So when that person was confronted, And security guard was confronted. He said, "Sir, ये तो मेरे पास आया और मेरे को बोला मेरे को ये फ्लैट नंबर में जाना है." So when he was confronted for identification, all he fumbled and he moved out. There were other places. There was a society at Gokuldam, which got a questionnaire, and we will give you a copy of that questionnaire. Fortunately, we missed to Xerox it earlier. You got your press releases and press statements, but that question is not there. Soon we will get it. Santosh, copy only ka? So point is to notice in that questionnaire, they are talking about Maratha Arakshan, name of the details. But down below, they are talking about details of the other members of the society, including their religion, including their caste, their occupation of each member, their qualifications. Now we fail to understand this. आप बोलते हैं कि मराठा आरक्षण का सर्वे है, तो ये प्रोफाइलिंग आप क्यों कर रहे हो? Creating so much amount of a confusion. One vice secretary in the society in Kalina, when he was told, he says, "Listen, whatever questionnaire you have, you give it to me. And if there is a Maratha in my society, the society will respond." Didn't allow the enumerator to come inside the society. Now, these are scary things, because if you don't disclose, that's a right as citizen under the constitutional norms, and you behave as if you don't matter in the scheme of things, it's very sad and unfortunate. And that's the reason why calling on the government that they must come out very clearly whom they have outsourced, whom all they have outsourced, which are the agencies that are involved. And let me tell you one thing, we are in the city where people are slightly more educated and alert, you know. So we are getting feedback coming in. In the rural areas and all, nobody will know the survey is being continued and what sort of pattern profiling is being done and other things. Knowing fully when the elections are around the corner, we already have an issue about what's happening in Mira Road closer in terms of the violence that has taken place, more specifically on the minorities and demolition of their homes. We honestly don't, and we want the government basically to tell us these details and to ensure and reassure us that all citizens of this particular state are protected.
So this is a very serious issue that relates to Maharashtra and MMRDA. Now the issue which I'm talking about affects each one of us all over the country. We've been very cynically told by this government at the center that there is a chronology between why the CAA, Citizenship Amendment Act 2019, which is not yet notified, but is going to be notified very soon now. The NPR and NRC are going to happen in tandem together. Government itself is saying it. Now, our investigation has shown that, I'll give you the background. If you look at the NPR provision, it comes from the Citizenship Act of 2004. Rules were passed in 2003, Section 4.2, which provide for an enumeration of an NRC. Now, it was unfortunate, escaped all our attention till 2019, including human rights workers like us. We didn't realize that this rule exists. So it is not illegal per se to have an NRC enumeration. As per the rules as they stand today, they are under challenge at the moment in the Supreme Court. We are hoping Supreme Court knows that they've been under challenge for 6 years. But the point is that there is a method that if this is under the Citizenship Act, if at all the NRC process is begun, it is preceded by a national population register. Yeah, how is the national population register collated or enumerated? It is through the Registrar General of India. It is through the Registrar General of India, the same agency that conducts the census. Okay? We know the census is conducted, supposed to be conducted every 10 years. We've not had a census now since 2011. Because do you want 2021? They don't have a census. Now the census has a particular purpose. It is for household surveys, it is meant for welfare schemes, to create policies of the government, to understand the demography of population. And Section 8 of the Census Act makes it mandatory for you and me to answer questions. You can't refuse to answer. But NPR is voluntary. Okay, is voluntary. Whether you want to give that data and information or not, though there is a fine if you don't answer of 10,000, so it's not completely without cumulative action. However, it is very clear that NPR data has to be collected by RDI appointed officials, census officials. They have to come to your house, collect information, verify it with you, give you a chance to appeal, etc., etc. Right or wrong, that is the way. What we have now discovered in this investigation, which our friends online will tell you in the next 10 minutes, and I'll give you a brief, is that actually this linking of Aadhaar to NPR started in 2010. So it's not as if it was only by this government. However, it was stopped. It was stopped in 2010 because the government realized that there are problems by seeding Aadhaar data and making it NPR data because there is not authentic value of Aadhaar data. Aadhaar is for what purpose? Forget the controversies around Aadhaar. I won't go into that now, the privacy issue. But Aadhaar is meant for proof of residence. It's only to prove that you're residing in a particular place for a certain amount of time, 18 months or more. It's not meant to prove citizenship. So by taking information from there in NPR, it's actually not a very legal process, not a very robust process. Secondly, in the NPR database after 2015, after this government came to power, certain fields were added, like gender, family, birth, residence, father, grandfather, etc., which are actually related to NPR without informing people that they've been added and then taking directly from Aadhaar. Now, the districts in Calcutta, Kolkata, Bengal, South Parganas, where this investigation took place, none of the households actually had a visit. So informed consent was not taken. Now, the figures tell us from the website that between up to 2015, there were about 23 crores of people who had been as linked into the Aadhaar NPR. Between 2015 and 2020, this became 119 plus crores. That's why we call it a giant leap. And the problem is that there is no authentication or verification with the individuals involved, the families involved, or informed consent. It's a very dangerous problem. It opens up vulnerable sections of the population, all kinds of manipulation. And therefore, we are flagging the issue. We are flagging the issue also to say that and appealing to citizens that please, if you have any such information available where the RTR officials are coming to you or whatever, please get in touch with us. Our website is publicly known and we put it on our press release. We are also saying that when we were doing a lot of training, citizen justice and peace in 2019 and 2020, we accessed the manuals from the Registrar General of India's website. We put it up on our website. The 2020 manual on how the NPR should be conducted is still on our website. It has disappeared from the RTI website because that is a manual which talks about informed consent of every individual. So the point is, there's a lot of shadow boxing. We don't know what is happening. We are not making allegations, but we are not sure why there is a non-transparent procedure being adopted by government on this kind of grand project of linking Aadhaar and making it for NPR database. And the NPR is supposed to be the basis of NRC. And NRC is not it's not your place of residence. So it has to have a certain authenticity, robustness, and informed consent of every individual. And that is why we are flagging this issue. Given CPAP's experience in Assam, which I'm sure some of you are aware of, it's a very, very problematic exercise when the onus of proof shifts on to the individual. And here the state is completely taking over the data, taking data from one agency and putting it as NPR without giving you and me a chance to authenticate it. And this shifting of the onus and burden of proof is extremely unfair to vulnerable sections of our people. We already know that politically religious minorities, particularly the Muslims, are a target. But I want to humbly say that our experience in Assam shows that whether you're a Santhal Rajvanshi, whether you're a Namoshudra, whether you're a Gorkha, whether you're a fish worker, whether you're a farm worker, all of us become vulnerable regardless of which community. Migrant workers become vulnerable because who has access to such authentication of documents? And therefore, our appeal, just like in the case of the extremely unconstitutional survey against our sisters and brothers in the Christian community, is there has to be full disclosure from the government. We want to know why this Aadhaar NPR linkage has happened, on what basis it has happened, and you cannot call it an NPR database, according to us, in many parts, taken without informed consent, at least in many parts, maybe in all parts. We don't know. We are not government. But this is the problem we are positioning, putting before the country, that on the one hand, you're telling us you're going to bring in CA, and the CA is not against any community. But on the other hand, you're not informing the citizens of this huge move under the Citizenship Act, which is not being conducted with the robustness and the legality it deserves.